Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The courtyard came alive with the sounds of nature's carpet crumbling in the crisp autumn breeze. Amidst this symphony, Aiden walked towards his class, his steps unhurried. His auburn locks, usually a mess, seemed to dance in sync with the wind's rhythm. With his bag snug across his torso, he was ready to tackle another day of engineering lectures. As Aiden's footsteps neared the arts block, a rushed voice interrupted the peaceful atmosphere. "Hey, could you please spare a moment?" Aiden's curiosity piqued. He rotated toward the source, beholding a diminutive artist burdened with a myriad of sketches and fabric samples. She hurriedly closed the gap between them, a flurry of creativity in motion. "I hate to impose, but your assistance could save the day," she expressed earnestly, her gaze entreaty personified. "I'm Tessa, a fashion design student, and my model just bailed on me. My final project presentation is in 2 hours, and I need someone to wear my designs. Would you be willing to help me out?" Aiden blinked, taken aback by the unexpected request. I'm not sure I'm cut out for modeling. I'm more of a numbers guy." Tessa's face fell, but then a mischievous glint appeared in her eye. "How about we make it interesting? If you do this for me, I'll buy you coffee for a week. If you chicken out, you buy me coffee for a week. What do you say?" Aiden hesitated, weighing his options. On one hand, the idea of parading around in someone else's designs made him uncomfortable. On the other hand, free coffee for a week was tempting, and he didn't want to let this girl down when she was clearly in a bind. "All right, you've got yourself a deal," he said with a sigh. "But I warn you, I have 2 left feet and 0 fashion sense." Tessa's face lit up with relief and excitement. "Thank you so much! You're a lifesaver! Come on, we need to get you fitted right away!" She grabbed his hand and pulled him into the arts building, leading him through a maze of corridors until they reached a small studio filled with mannequins, fabric, and sewing machines. Tessa immediately set to work, measuring Aiden and sorting through her designs. "Okay, we're going for an androgynous look with a touch of elegance," she explained as she held up various pieces. "I'm thinking we'll start with this loose-fitting white blouse and pair it with these tailored black trousers. What do you think?" Aiden shrugged, feeling out of his depth. "Sure, sounds good to me. As long as I don't have to wear heels, I'm game." Tessa laughed. "No heels, I promise. Though I do have some gorgeous Oxford shoes that would look amazing on you." As Tessa helped him into the outfit, Aiden couldn't help but notice how soft the fabric felt against his skin. The blouse draped elegantly over his torso, and the trousers fit perfectly, accentuating his long legs. "Wow," Tessa breathed as she stepped back to admire her handiwork. "You look incredible. The clothes suit you so well. It's like they were made for you. Which, I guess, they kind of were." Aiden turned to look in the full-length mirror and was stunned by his reflection. The person staring back at him looked refined, almost regal. The white blouse softened his angular features, while the black trousers elongated his silhouette. He hardly recognized himself. I don't know what to say," he stammered. "Is that really me?" Tessa grinned, clapping her hands together. "It absolutely is! Oh, this is going to be perfect! Now let's do something with your hair and add a touch of makeup to complete the look." Before Aiden could protest, Tessa was running her fingers through his brown locks, styling them into a softer, more feminine cut. She then applied a light layer of makeup, enhancing his features without making it obvious he was wearing any. As they worked, Aiden found himself relaxing and even enjoying the process. Tessa's enthusiasm was contagious, and he began to see the artistry in what she was doing.
So, how did you get into fashion design?
He asked, as she put the finishing touches on his look. Tessa's eyes lit up. I've always loved creating things, and fashion seemed like the perfect way to combine art and functionality. There's something magical about designing clothes that make people feel confident and beautiful. What about you? What's your major?
Engineering,
Aiden replied. I like solving problems and building things too, just in a different way. That's fascinating, Tessa said sincerely. I bet there's more overlap between our fields than people realize. Fashion is all about structure and problem solving too, in its own way. As they chatted, Aiden found himself growing more comfortable in his new attire. By the time they headed to the presentation room, he felt a strange mix of nervousness and excitement. The room was buzzing with activity when they arrived. Other students were making last-minute adjustments to their models, and professors were setting up to judge the presentations. Aiden's heart raced as he realized he'd be on display in front of all these people. You've got this, Tessa whispered encouragingly. Just walk confidently and show off the clothes. Pretend you're the most fabulous person in the room. Aiden took a deep breath and nodded. As Tessa began her presentation, he stepped forward, channeling all the confidence he could muster. To his surprise, it felt almost natural. The clothes moved with him, and he found himself enjoying the feeling of all eyes on him. As he walked, he caught sight of one of the professors watching him intently. She was an elegant woman in her 50s, with sharp eyes that seemed to see right through him. Aiden felt a flutter of nerves under her scrutiny, but maintained his composure. After the presentation, which Aiden was sure Tessa had aced, the professor approached them. Excellent work, Tessa, she said, her voice rich and authoritative. Your designs show real promise. And you, she turned to Aiden, you have a natural grace that's rare to find. Have you ever considered modeling before? Aiden felt his cheeks flush.
No, ma'am. This was actually my first time.
The professor raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed.
Well, you have a gift. If you're interested, I have some connections in the industry. I'd be happy to put you in touch with some people who are always looking for fresh faces.
Aiden's mind reeled. Him? A model? It seemed absurd. And yet, a small part of him was intrigued by the idea.
Thank you,
he said politely.
I'll think about it.
As the professor walked away, Tessa squealed with excitement. Oh my gosh, do you know who that was? That was Professor Evelyn Clark. She's a legend in the fashion world. If she's impressed, you must have really nailed it. Aiden smiled, still processing what had just happened. I guess I owe you more than just a thank you for roping me into this. Tessa grinned. Hey, a deal's a deal. You've earned that free coffee. But seriously, are you going to consider her offer? Aiden shrugged, uncertainty creeping in. I don't know. It's not really my world. Plus, I'm not sure how it would fit with my studies. Well, think about it, Tessa urged. You looked amazing out there, and you seemed to enjoy it too. It could be a fun side gig, if nothing else. As they parted ways, Aiden couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. He'd stepped into a world he never knew existed, and a part of him was reluctant to leave it behind. Over the next few days, Aiden found himself distracted during his engineering classes. His mind kept wandering back to the fashion show, the feel of the soft fabric against his skin, the rush of walking down the runway. He'd catch himself daydreaming about trying on different outfits, experimenting with styles he'd never considered before. A week after the show, Aiden received an email from Professor Clark. She had forwarded his contact information to a boutique agency that specialized in androgynous and gender-fluid models. They were interested in meeting him for a potential test shoot. Aiden stared at the email for what felt like hours, his cursor hovering over the reply button. Part of him wanted to delete it and pretend the whole thing had never happened. But another part, a part that was growing stronger by the day, was deeply curious. Finally, he took a deep breath and typed out a response, agreeing to meet with the agency. He told himself it was just to satisfy his curiosity, that he didn't have to commit to anything. The day of the meeting arrived, and Aiden found himself standing outside a sleek, modern building in the heart of the city. He smoothed down his white button-up shirt and adjusted his black slacks, feeling underdressed despite his best efforts to look professional. Inside, he was greeted by a friendly receptionist who led him to a bright, airy office. A woman with a stylish pixie cut and vibrant blue eyes stood to greet him. "Aiden, welcome! I'm Zoe, the agency's director. Professor Clark spoke very highly of you." They shook hands, and Aiden felt some of his nervousness dissipate in the face of Zoe's warm smile.
"Thank you for meeting with me,"
he said.
"I have to admit, I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing here."
Zoe laughed. "Don't worry, that's perfectly normal. Why don't we start by talking about what modeling means to you? What drew you to consider it?" As Aiden began to speak, he found himself opening up about the experience at the fashion show, the unexpected thrill of transformation, and the confidence he'd felt on the runway. Zoe listened attentively, nodding and smiling. "It sounds like you've discovered a side of yourself you never knew existed," she said when he finished.
"That's what we're all about here."
"We believe in helping people explore and express all facets of their identity through fashion and modeling." She pulled out a portfolio and showed Aiden some of their recent campaigns. He was struck by the diversity of the models and the fluidity of their presentations. Men in flowing dresses, women in sharp suits, and everything in between. "We're not interested in putting people in boxes," Zoe explained. "Our clients come to us because they want models who can embody a range of aesthetics and identities. It's about versatility and authenticity." As they talked, Aiden felt his excitement growing. This wasn't just about wearing clothes or walking down a runway. It was about exploration, self-expression, and challenging societal norms. "So, what do you think?" Zoe asked. "Would you be interested in doing a test shoot with us? No pressure, just a chance to see how you feel in front of the camera and try on some different looks." Aiden hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "Yes, I think I'd like that." Zoe beamed. "Wonderful! Let's schedule it for next week. And Aiden, I want you to know that everything we do here is completely confidential. Your privacy is our top priority." As Aiden left the agency, he felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. He was stepping into unknown territory, but something about it felt right, like he was finally allowing himself to explore a part of his identity he'd always kept hidden. The day of the test shoot arrived, and Aiden found himself in a converted warehouse studio, surrounded by racks of clothing and bustling crew members. A makeup artist named Jamie whisked him away to a chair, chatting animatedly as she worked. "So, this is your first shoot? How exciting." "Don't worry, we'll take good care of you. We're going to start with a natural look and then build up to something more dramatic." "Sound good?" Aiden nodded, watching in fascination as Jamie expertly applied foundation, concealer, and a hint of contouring. When she was done, he barely recognized himself. His features looked softer, more refined, but still unmistakably his own. Next, a hairstylist named Carlos worked his magic on Aiden's brown locks, giving them a tousled, effortlessly chic look.
"Your hair has such a beautiful texture,"
Carlos commented.
"We can do so much with it."
Finally, it was time for the first outfit. The stylist, a non-binary person named Alex, helped Aiden into a flowing white silk blouse and high-waisted black trousers. The outfit was similar to what he'd worn at the university fashion show, but somehow more elevated, more intentional.
"Remember,"
Alex said as they made final adjustments, "these clothes are an extension of you. They don't define you. They enhance what's already there." As Aiden stepped in front of the camera, he felt a familiar nervousness creeping in. But then the photographer, a vibrant woman named Rhea, started talking to him, guiding him through different poses and expressions. "That's it. Just relax," Rhea encouraged. "Think about how the fabric feels against your skin. Let that comfort show in your face. Now give me a little attitude. You own this look." To Aiden's surprise, he found himself enjoying the process. With each click of the camera, he felt more comfortable, more in tune with this new version of himself. He moved fluidly between masculine and feminine poses, reveling in the freedom to express different aspects of his personality. As the shoot progressed, the looks became more daring. A slinky black dress that hugged his curves, a sharp, tailored suit with a plunging neckline. Each outfit revealed a different facet of Aiden's emerging identity. By the end of the day, Aiden was exhausted but exhilarated. As he looked at some of the preliminary shots on Rhea's camera, he was stunned by the transformation. The person in those photos was still him, but also someone entirely new. "These are fantastic," Zoe said, joining them to review the images. "Aiden, you have a real gift. The camera loves you, and you seem to have a knack for embodying different personas." Aiden blushed at the praise. "Thank you. I have to admit, I enjoyed it much more than I expected to." Zoe smiled knowingly. "I had a feeling you would. So, what do you think? Would you be interested in taking on some paid work with us?" Aiden hesitated, his practical side warring with his newfound passion. "I'd love to, but I'm not sure how I'd balance it with my studies. And to be honest, I'm not sure I'm ready for people to see me like this." Zoe nodded understanding. "That's completely valid. How about this? We start you off with some smaller jobs, maybe some editorial work where you'd be less recognizable. We can work around your school schedule, and we'll always respect your boundaries when it comes to privacy." After some discussion, Aiden agreed. They worked out a contract that allowed him to take on modeling jobs while maintaining his anonymity and prioritizing his studies. As he left the studio that day, Aiden felt like he was walking on air. He had discovered a new world, a new aspect of himself that he never knew existed. For the first time in his life, he felt truly seen and accepted for all that he was. Over the next few months, Aiden, or Gemma, as he came to be known in the modeling world, flourished. He balanced his engineering studies with a growing portfolio of modeling work, each shoot allowing him to explore different facets of his identity. There were challenges, of course. Keeping his modeling career a secret from his classmates and family was stressful at times. He'd have to come up with excuses for his occasional absences, or the faint traces of makeup he sometimes forgot to remove completely. But the joy and fulfillment he found in modeling made it all worthwhile. With each shoot, each new outfit, each transformation, Aiden felt more comfortable in his own skin. He began to understand that gender wasn't a fixed point, but a spectrum, and he was free to move along it as he pleased. One day, about 6 months into his secret modeling career, Aiden received a call from Zoe. A major fashion label wanted him for their new campaign, a campaign that would be plastered on billboards and in magazines across the country. "This could be your big break," Zoe said excitedly. But I understand if it's too much exposure. The choice is entirely yours. Aiden's heart raced as he considered the opportunity. It was everything he'd been working towards, a chance to make a real impact in the fashion world. But it would also mean revealing his modeling persona to the world, including his friends and family. After days of soul-searching and long conversations with Zoe and the team at the agency, Aiden made his decision. It was time to embrace his full self, publicly and proudly. The day of the campaign launch, Aiden, now fully embracing the name Gemma, stood nervously in front of a full-length mirror. He was wearing a stunning white gown that seemed to float around him, his brown hair styled in elegant waves. His makeup was flawless, enhancing his natural features while allowing his true self to shine through. As he stepped onto the red carpet, cameras flashing all around him, Gemma felt a sense of peace wash over him. This was who he was meant to be, not just a man, not just a woman, but a beautiful amalgamation of both. The crowd gasped and murmured as they recognized the engineering student turned model sensation. But among the surprised faces, Gemma saw looks of admiration, support, and even gratitude from those who saw themselves reflected in his journey. In that moment, standing tall and proud, Gemma realized that his journey wasn't just about personal transformation. It was about representation, about showing the world that identity is fluid and that true beauty comes from embracing all aspects of oneself. As reporters clamored for interviews and fans called out their support, Gemma smiled, ready to share his story with the world. He had found his truth, and in doing so, he hoped to inspire others to find theirs. The campaign was a resounding success, sparking conversations about gender identity and representation in the fashion industry. Gemma became an overnight sensation, not just for her striking looks, but for her courage in living authentically. In the weeks that followed, Gemma navigated the challenges of sudden fame with grace. He continued his engineering studies, determined to prove that one could pursue seemingly disparate passions. His classmates, after the initial shock, rallied around him, impressed by his ability to balance academia and a high-profile modeling career. His family's reaction was mixed at first. There was confusion, concern, and a period of adjustment. But as they saw how happy and fulfilled Gemma was, they came to embrace this new chapter in their child's life. His mother even joked that she always knew her fashion sense would rub off on him eventually. Tessa, the fashion student who had inadvertently set this journey in motion, was over the moon. "I always knew you had it in you," she said when they met for coffee. "I'm so proud of you for embracing your true self." As Gemma's star rose in the fashion world, he made it his mission to use his platform for good. He spoke out about gender identity, body positivity, and the importance of self-acceptance. He collaborated with designers who shared his vision of inclusive, boundary-pushing fashion. 1 year after his debut, Gemma found himself back at the university, this time as a guest lecturer for the fashion department. As he stood at the podium, looking out at a sea of eager faces, he felt a sense of coming full circle. "A year ago, I stood on a runway in this very building, terrified and unsure," he began. "I had no idea that day would change my life forever. But what I've learned since then is that change is nothing to fear. It's an opportunity to discover parts of yourself you never knew existed." He went on to talk about the intersection of fashion and identity, encouraging the students to think beyond traditional boundaries and to use their designs as a form of self-expression. After the lecture, a young student approached him, eyes shining with admiration. "Your story has inspired me so much," they said. "I've always felt caught between identities, never quite fitting in. Seeing you out there, Being unapologetically yourself, it's given me the courage to explore who I really am. Gemma felt a lump form in his throat. This, he realized, was the true power of living authentically. It wasn't just about personal fulfillment. It was about creating a ripple effect of acceptance and self-love. As he left the university that day, Gemma felt a profound sense of gratitude. What had started as a simple bet had led him on an incredible journey of self-discovery. He had found a way to merge his love for problem-solving and creativity, bridging the worlds of engineering and fashion in a way that was uniquely his own. Looking to the future, Gemma felt nothing but excitement. He knew there would be challenges ahead, but he was ready to face them head-on, secure in the knowledge of who he was and what he stood for. As he walked down the street, the autumn leaves crunching beneath his feet, just as they had on that fateful day a year ago, Gemma smiled to himself. He was no longer just Aiden, the engineering student, or just Gemma, the model. He was both and neither, a beautiful contradiction, a work in progress, and he wouldn't have it any other way.
Thanks for watching my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!